This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, it is September 2nd, 2021, and I have my first interview of the month here right now for a film I've never had an interview from before, a film with a very odd history. The film in question, Manos Hands of Faith. And I have the littlest cast member of the movie on here today. We have Jackey Jones. How do you do, Jackey?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You know what? I love your chair. It's like you're so small in it.
Oh, well, I'm not a very big person to begin with, I guess.
Well, you weren't a very big person in that movie either. So.
Technically, the smallest cast member would be Peppy the Poodle.
Okay, if you want to get literal, yeah.
Yeah, he gets killed off, so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? It's great to have you on here today. I'm honored that you responded, and yeah, that worked for me. I find a lot of times with Facebook messages get filtered, so yeah, I've had to tell somebody who hasn't gotten back to me yet, who's responded to me on somebody else's post, to look through their filtered messages or send me an email. So that doesn't matter, but all's good. Here we are, and this is fantastic. But I was gonna say, before we talk about Manos, and I was wondering if I could get a little bit of your background and what brought you to that movie.
Well, yeah, my dad was in community theater. We lived in El Paso, Texas, and he was actually one of the main lead actors in those days. I mean, he always played the lead role. In fact, in 1968, uh, when that movie was made, 1966, sorry, um, when that film was made that same year, my dad won Best Actor of the Year award for his role of King Henry IV.
Mhm.
And that's the play where Hal Warren, who created Monos, found all his male actors because they were all in that play. But Hal had been in community theater for a while and considered himself a stand-up comic, actually. And um, and so he knew all these people, and he just decided to put this movie together. So they needed a little girl. He'd written in this part, and my dad just happened to have a 6-year-old, and they needed an evil dog, and we just happened to have a Doberman. And Hal needed people with talent. My mother was she was a teacher, but she was also a very good seamstress. She made most of our clothes back in those days, and so she created the costumes, the master's robe and the wives' dresses. And so my dad came home one day and he got down to my level and said, "Honey, we're doing a movie and we need a little girl. Would you want to be that little girl?" And at that point, I was very shy, but I would have done anything to hang out with my dad. So I said yes.
Wow.
And that's how it happened.
What do you think of the reputation of the film now? Because I watched it last night, and
Oh,
in preparation here, and but the film, well, like movies like The Room and Birdemic and Troll 2, it lands on that list a lot, and that's not really a bad thing, because a lot of times it makes these kind of films even more fun to watch, you know? Um, but what do you think about the reputation the film currently has?
I love it. I mean, it suits me perfectly. I'm an artist. I've always been an artist, and um, I tend to go a lot of different directions. If something interests me, then I got to check it out. And a lot of the stuff is definitely not on the main beaten track.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in high school, my best friend and I were big fans of Fire Sign Theater. And a lot of people today don't know who they are, but you should write it down, check them out. They're very brilliant, just four guys doing, uh, their own riffing, doing their own albums of stories like Nick Danger, Third Eye, and they do like these dramas, but a lot of word twists, a lot of just two or three meanings to what they were saying. So she and I we memorized these albums. We were just hooked on them, and we drove everybody in high school crazy. I mean, we were so annoying, and we were also in theater, and so it just suits me. I get these people. They're my tribe. They're my people. I
Yeah.
love it. And the other thing is, Manos never would have found any recognition. Nobody'd see it if it hadn't been in public domain, because Mystery Science Theater was, they were only picking up movies that were free.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how Frank found it, but he found it and they put it on, and it just became an instant hit. Since
Yeah.
1993, 27 years after it was made.
Yeah, because a lot of films could become lost if the theatrical presentations not accepted or um or such, and but a lot of times a lot of movies like this that are on the worst films ever list, it's interesting the enjoyment the audience get. Like when you hear people going to The Room, for example, and Tommy Wiseau was my first guest on here, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, back in 2015, and
Nice.
people show up with footballs, throwing footballs or plastic spoons at the
Yeah.
screen. It doesn't matter that it's considered one of the worst films ever made. People are having fun with it. And I'll give a good example. There's a difference between that and an actual bad film. To me, one of the worst films I ever seen was Pearl Harbor. I absolutely hate that movie with a passion. It There's nothing about it I find enjoyable. I found it very racist because there was no three-dimensional Japanese characters in the movie. It was just two soldiers fighting over a nurse through the whole thing. I hated that movie. It insulted my intelligence. And then you got movies like The Room or Manos Hands of Fate that are in a different category. You go and you can enjoy them. You see a movie that somebody made, and maybe the budget was low. They worked with what they had, and maybe some stuff doesn't work out the way they might have thought. But look at the life the film has now and the enjoyment. You must have a hoot going to some of the screenings of this movie.
Oh yeah. I mean, the screenings that I had the opportunity with, especially, was when a filmmaker, Ben Salovey, film student, uh, but he actually found the original work print that had gone through the camera in 1966. And with the, oh man, it was messy. And, with the scotch tape where it had been taped together, 50-year-old tape, and dust and dirt. And he got this idea to restore it. And he did a Kickstarter. I believe he raised $47,000 or $48,000 to restore Manos, and he did. He restored it frame by frame into HD Blu-ray. So now you can watch the film looking really cleaned up and pretty without the MST riffing or without anybody riffing it. And it's a strange experience because it's still a bad film, but it's not quite as bad, you know. So I've been fortunate because of the restoration to have traveled a bit to Chicago, and actually went back to El Paso, Texas to show it in the Plaza Theater, which is directly across the street from where it originally showed in the Capri Theater, which no longer exists.
Mhm.
So it was great. I just had so much fun with it.
Yeah. Well, you must get to do the conventions quite a bit. What's the most interesting thing you've ever been asked to sign?
Oh. Yeah, people don't really bring things for me to sign. Um, yeah, I mean, if anything, I have recreated some of the things from the original film.
Mm-hmm.
Like I make master's robes just the way my mother made the original, and I sell them signed and numbered. I made some crazy commitment to making 100 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I make one, I go, oh my God, I have to do this again. I mean, it's not easy. It's I make them very well, just the way my mom taught me to sew.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, I haven't been to too many conventions. I'd like to do more. A couple got canceled this year. I was just at in Southern Oregon last weekend for Meadowlark Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the attendance was low, the people that came were really enthusiastic. Uh, I've never seen so many children at a convention before. And I just have to say, this one family that came over to talk to me were the most fun. I got a picture of them too. It was a single mom. Well, no, she's single, but she was single that day. And she had 5 kids with her. The oldest boy was 9. There was 2 8-year-old girls, a 7-year-old girl, and then the baby she was holding. And all 4 kids, they were dressed as Ghostbusters.
Okay.
And one of the little girls, her Ghostbuster outfit was with a skirt instead of pants.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cute. And the baby was the cream puff ghost thing, you know. The baby was in the mother's arms, couldn't really bend her arm. So cute. But I think one of the most fun things that happened to me at a con in terms of being surprised by a fan was at Seattle, Crypticon, Seattle, a couple years ago when I was a guest. Well, I'll give you 2 stories, my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So my boyfriend was with me, and he loved scanning people to see people who were interested in me but hesitant to approach. So he saw this one girl, and she was looking at the banner over my head of me when I was 6 years old, and me now. She just kept like going like this. I'm like, yeah, it's me. But he says, "Do you want to meet her?" And this girl, she's probably in her early 20s. She just
Mm-hmm.
burst into tears. She was so overwhelmed. And I was like, oh, honey, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, she was kind of overwhelmed meeting Debbie. But the
Mm-hmm.
other was that same year, Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, who did Manos once on one of her shows, she was across the room as a guest. So when I got a break, I went over there, and she had a long line of people waiting to sign for them. And she had a very tough looking woman sitting next to her, which I figured was like her bodyguard or something, you know. So I checked out the scene for a minute, and then I snuck around the end of the table where Cassandra was at the end of the table, and I just like jumped in there and I squatted down and I go, Cassandra, and I just blurted it out real quick. You know, I played Debbie, the little girl in Manos Returns. My dad was the master. You know, I did that whole thing, and in the corner of my eye, I see this woman start lifting herself out of the chair. I was like, oh. And Cassandra looks at me and she goes like this, and then her eyes get big and she's like surprised and she goes, stop the line. and then she just made everybody stop, and she called me closer and she just started peppering me with all these behind the scenes questions. It was so much fun.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So what was it like working with the little poodle? Did you feel that you weren't so small after all?
Oh, he was a jerk. That was Hal Warren's dog.
Uh-huh.
Doberman was ours. He was a sweetheart, but the poodle, he didn't have kids at home, and he didn't appreciate being held on to by me. I'm probably lucky I didn't get nipped, but if you know the film, you see that he gets killed off pretty quick. So Hal got him out of the way as soon as possible.
Was that in the script or was that at your request?
It wasn't my request. It might have been my parents. I don't know, but no, I think it was part of the script.
It's like, gee, let me hang out with the Doberman. He's so much nicer.
Yeah, I mean they couldn't even edit out all his wiggling. You could tell he just a happy dog.
Mm-hmm. So talk about working on this film, especially that young. Was it difficult?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the whole thing was filmed like in a few weekends and a couple weeks, nights and weekends. It was filmed so quickly because everybody had full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just really fun for me to be able to stay up late sometimes. And John Reynolds, who played Torgo, he was in theater as well. And so we'd known him for a while. My dad and he were friends. And he was just such a sweet gentleman that I think he felt most comfortable with me on downtime. So he and I just remember us kind of just sitting off to the side, and I don't know, I can't remember anything we talked about, but he was just somebody that was easy to hang out with. And then the wives, they were all sweet young ladies, but they kept treating me like a little doll or something, and that got kind of annoying. But mostly I just, I was a well-behaved kid, and I just wanted to do the best that I could. So when I say a line, I remember saying real timidly, should I do it again? Because I knew I was really quiet
Mm-hmm.
and shy. And Hal would say, no, that was fine. You did great. We're just going to move on. We'll fix it in the lab. He said that a lot. We'll fix it in the lab. Yeah, movie making is magic. But what they didn't tell me, and I did not learn it until the premiere, was that the voices had been dubbed in. So that wasn't even, he was never intending to use the original sound anyway, because there was no original sound. The camera he used only shot silent, and it only shot like 32 seconds. It was a wind up camera.
Yeah.
So,
You mentioned John.
It just didn't matter how loud I spoke or anything.
Mm.
It wasn't even my voice in the film.
What about Peppy? Was it his voice?
Probably not.
They're not using yours. They better not use dogs. You mentioned John Reynolds, and he's a standout in this film as Torgo, with that very, very awkward walk and whatnot, and I don't know if here's the rumors I hear, and you can clear these up. And again, what I hear online and what is reality could be two different things, but I hear that he was high on acid during this film.
Yeah.
Okay. It actually makes for a more entertaining film, I'll tell you that, because some of his scenes are the most talked about. Like, I listened to the Andrew Lewis, who they call the Shitflix critic out of Australia, and Brad Jones, the cinema snob. They both did really entertaining reviews of this film, but they talked a lot about John Reynolds.
Well, you got to realize the times, the mid 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Not that anybody else was on acid during the filming, but, it was a fairly widespread common drug at that time. And I don't think John did, he had more respect for the theater than that. I don't think he was doing drugs during other plays, but this film was pretty frustrating to the people that were involved in it because everybody knew it wasn't going to be good. And the guys who, the cinematographer, the guy, Bernie Rosenblum and Bob Guidry, who were the crew, they were best friends off camera and they were jokesters. So in their frustration, they did a few things just to see if Hal was paying attention, things that stayed in the film. So there's one scene with my dad holding his arms out, the master's robe in the living room of the Valley Lodge. And you can see the beer bottle right next to him on the fireplace. They did things like that stayed in the film, just didn't get edited out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, but John he was in a dark place at that time, anyhow.
Well, I was born in 1972, so I
Okay.
missed the 60s by a few years, I love it. I can go back and look at these films and I can see the 60s or I could see the 50s, or what so I love that element of it. And of course, John, did he have a condition the way he walked? Because I don't know much about his background.
No, not at all. He was no.
So his character was written like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not in the script necessarily, but it's kind of believed in that Torgo was supposed to be like a satyr. And
Okay.
that's the closest they could get costume wise with the budget they had. I mean, they only had the complete thing was like $19,000
Oh.
finished. So the coveralls that John was wearing was actually my dad's desert scavenging coveralls, and so was the hat. And John was only like 5'7", and my dad was 6'2".
Okay.
So they were big, and even the jacket that was my dad's too. But my dad used some fencing wire
Mm-hmm.
to fill out the leg, and then foam, like furniture foam, and then he put that on the inside for cushion. So that's what that was. It was just like bended wire and foam with John's legs inside. So his legs were forced to stay in that angle.
Okay. I didn't know that.
With his own character work.
Well, you know what? That's interesting. That is interesting. And of course, you got Tom Neyman as the master, of course, whose robe you make. How long does it
My
take you
daughter
to?
made the original.
How long does it take you to make one of those robes?
I've never really counted the hours. Well, the last one I made, it took me, a couple days, not full days, but I have a new studio space now,
Mm-hmm.
and I have space to lay things out. So I'm not, I'm not so. I'm looking more forward to making the next ones because I have the space to do it.
Mm-hmm.
In retrospect, I don't know how I got these things done with, the space, and that's a lot of fabric. That's a lot of fabric.
How much is it to purchase one of these?
I believe right now I think I got it for $345,
Mm-hmm.
and and they're custom. They're signed and numbered, and I get your measurements. So
Mm-hmm.
I go wrist to wrist and shoulder to floor. And so far, out of the 27 I've made, the largest one I made was for a guy 6'8" in England. I sent it to England. And then another one for a woman in Georgia who's 4'11". So they're, yeah, wide range. And I don't charge more for more fabric, so they're the same price for everybody.
Wow.
They're on my
You
Etsy site, which I'll give you the link to.
Yeah. Do you sell a lot of these?
Well, I've done 27 of them so far.
27. Wow.
Over, I'm not sure when I started, a few years. I don't promote them that much
Mm-hmm.
because they were. Once I got started, I was like, what was I thinking? But now that I have this new space, it's a whole different thing. I'm looking forward to making the next one.
It's interesting because it's become this whole thing. Everybody remembers Torgo, but everybody also remembers the Manos robe as well.
Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
shoot. Oh, I do have one here. Hold on, just
Oh,
one
yeah,
second.
sure. Go right ahead. Yeah, folks, we have not mentioned yet that Manos Hands of Faith is celebrating its 55th anniversary this year. Oh, yeah.
So my dad, he made he made pretty much all. Well, he did all the art and
Uh-huh.
props for the film. My dad did sculpture, painting. He was an artist
Mm-hmm.
in the theater, and his full-time job as executive director of the South El Paso Boys Club. But he did welding, he did sculpture, he created in any medium that looked interesting to him, and I inherited that. I do the same. So a few years ago, I had a friend with a welding setup, and he let me make some of these. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I
The
made
the
this one.
the Manos staff there, that with the hand
Torgo
on it, that
staff.
Torgo.
So
Wow.
I made ours for our film Manos Returns, and I did everything else that my dad did in the original Manos for Manos Returns. I created the master's robe, I did the wives' dresses, I did all the artwork. My dad painted the original master and dog painting,
Mm-hmm.
and I've made a couple of versions of that. I
Mm-hmm.
saw prints of that as well. But I painted a large painting for our film.
So how much do you sell those for?
Well, I I've only sold two, and I sold them I think for 300 each. but I made 12 of them all together. But things have moved around so much. There's been so much transition in my life
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not sure where I put them. So, and then the other thing is, I sold one to a guy who also bought a master's robe and uh, went to a convention, and they wouldn't let him in with it because it's made of metal.
Okay.
It looks like a weapon. So I've been thinking if I could find another way to make it where, maybe plastic or something
Mm-hmm.
that was acceptable that people could actually take with them.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that you followed in your father's footsteps on that and
Yeah.
able to
It's funny. My mother was a teacher and my sister's a teacher. So I guess we both follow somebody.
Well, I think that's cool, that you recreate all these things and were able to sell them. But
Yeah.
talk about Tom, the master,
Mhm.
Tom Neyman, the master.
Yeah, he was just a really creative guy. I mean, like I said, he won Best Actor of the Year for King Henry the Fourth. Some of the other roles he played was R.P. McMurphy from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Mm-hmm.
He was the narrator in Our Town. Oh, he sang and he played King Arthur in Camelot.
Uh-huh.
It was the only time he sang, and he did pretty well. He won, in those days anyway, he won Best Actor of the Year more times than any other actor had to that point. He won 4 times. And at the premiere, Mono showed at the premiere,
Mm-hmm.
and then it didn't go very well.
No.
So the theater canceled the run for the rest of the show. It only showed the one night. And the cast and crew pretty much snuck out and tried never to talk about it after that. So what's I going to say about that? Yeah, I just find it ironic that the same year we made such a horrible thing, he was doing so well in other ways.
Well, of course, Harold P. Warren played your dad. He's no longer with us. And of course, Diane McGree played your mom. Diane, beautiful woman in this movie. No
Yeah,
wonder Torgo was smitten.
she became she was a worldwide professional model. She traveled all over the place. She had quite a career as a top model.
Mm-hmm.
And we found her in Colorado, and we got her to be part of Manos Returns. She was in Manos Returns playing my mother again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, she's still around. I reached out on Facebook. I'm hoping it was her anyway. um, yeah, I would love to get her on here. But
Oh,
yep, yep. But I find it funny, when Torgo is coming on to her and she slaps him, and then finally she says, "Well, I won't tell my husband."
yeah, terrible.
Oh, it was funny. But no, she was beautiful. Yep.
Still is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was so much fun to have around when we were filming, when we got her out here from
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, because she's got some stories of her career and her life. She's just fascinating.
Um, how many people from this film are still with us? There's yourself and there's her. Um,
And one or two of the wives, I found two of the wives over the years.
mm-hmm.
One of them just didn't want to talk about it, and that's fine. I left her alone. But the other one is still living in El Paso, and we talk regularly. We try to talk at least, well, not as often as we should. But
Okay.
yeah,
Which,
Isela Garcia is her name. It's
okay.
just a really sweet woman. I really enjoyed keeping up with
Isn't it sad that Tom got to sleep laying down and they all the wives had to sleep standing up?
her. Yeah, I mean, that property was just amazing that it already existed just the way it is.
Hmm.
In fact, those columns came from the old county courthouse.
Hmm.
And the local county judge owned that property. And when they tore down the courthouse, somehow he obtained that slab that was the master's bed and the columns and had them taken out to this remote little property he had out just outside of El Paso and Socorro.
Hmm. And of course, you get the little subplot with the teenagers,
Now that was written in later.
yeah,
And Joyce Moliere, who was the kissing teenager,
yeah.
she was one of the wives originally. And then there was during one of the way I understand is during one of the rehearsals,
Hmm.
she fell and broke her ankle. And so to keep, I don't know, to keep her happy, to keep her from suing Hal, or I don't know why. But he wrote this scene in to keep her in the movie. So that
Oh,
she
okay.
and then the kissing teenager boy, that was Bernie Rosenblum, and he was one of the crew members.
I bet you he must have enjoyed doing this.
Oh, sure, yeah.
She was easy on the eyes too.
Well, and I was able to find him while he was still living, and we got to talk a number of times before he passed away. This is
Hmm.
many years ago, but he was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Is she still with us?
Who's that? Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find the others.
Maybe she's kissed and told.
Or just kissed and decided not to ever speak of it.
That could
Yeah,
be.
I mean, there is that. Not everybody has such a great view on it, I guess.
Well, can you believe that the film is celebrating its 55th anniversary this year? And for something that was in the dark all this time, it's now resurfaced and it's got this whole cult following, and what do you think of all that now?
It's amazing. Mostly, I look at that film, I go, man, I'm getting old. How did that happen? Whew.
Yeah.
No, I love it. What I've noticed was since since it was found in 1993,
Hmm.
I mean, I had looked for it growing up and I couldn't find it. And most of that was pre-internet. But
Hmm.
out of high school, I started searching film libraries and university libraries, and I just couldn't find it. So I gave up. And then
Wow.
1993 comes along, and my dad calls me up and says, "You'll never believe what I just saw on television." He was a Mystery Science Theater fan. He just happened to see it, and uh, and then I called the 800 number in the bottom corner of the screen on Comedy Central, which is where
Hmm.
it showed up, and I got a hold of a guy in Manhattan who told me it was their favorite bad movie there in the HBO offices, and I begged him to send me a copy. So he just copied off a VHS and sent it to me. So I still have that. When I got it, I just watched it by myself. I was married and had a 3-year-old son at the time. I watched it by myself and I was just satisfied. I found it. I'm happy. And then after that, it just started taking off. It became an instant cult hit. And then for several years for the Turkey Day Awards on MST, it was listed as the fan favorite. and it's been listed as the all-time fan favorite. I mean, I've been interviewed by Playboy magazine, Entertainment Weekly. It was crazy when my youngest son was in high school, and I came home. I go, oh, honey, guess what? Your mom's in Playboy. I thought he was gonna pass out.
What do your kids think of Manos Hands of Faith now?
Oh, I mean, it's like, oh, mom, I mean, it's just they go along with it. I've in the past, I've made them, my younger son, pose in the master's robes. They think it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me see. I gotta click this link. You followed that up because you got we got a few things coming up. We got a TV series, Manos the Debbie Chronicles listed here,
Yeah, working on that.
and Manos the Rise of Torgo.
Orgo, that's it. That's another person's uh, film, David Roy, and he wrote it as a prequel
Mm-hmm.
about Torgo, and he got me to do a scene that as the master,
Uh-huh.
with the robes that I made, and we filmed it here in a friend's studio, and sent that and he edited it in, so a little quick thing. And then Manos Returns, which is my film. There's been puppet theater, Manos, The Hands of Felt,
Uh-huh.
and there was a comedy stage production in Portland a few years ago, and I found out about it, and I contacted the guy who was putting it together, and he was so excited. He invited me up. The character of Debbie, my character in that play, was played by a doll on stage. They made a doll, and the Doberman was also, he was a life-size Doberman made of cardboard and felt, and he ran on little wheels across the stage, and he often fell over. But when they found me, they invited me up to play my own voice. So it was like poetic justice. I got to do my own voice from the sound booth.
Well, that was awesome. Well,
Yeah.
talk about doing Manos Return. Did you do that as a result of the new fan base?
Yeah. God, I'm not sure exactly. It just kind of came about in a very natural way. I had met Tanya Atomic, who's a filmmaker. I met her at Crypticon Seattle. She lives in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
I had already met Rachel Jackson, who's the creator of Manos Hands of Felt. She has her own puppet theater up there. And then Joe Sherlock is a filmmaker here near me, and I had met him. So it just kind of came together, the four of us, to produce this film. And we decided to do a Kickstarter, and we did pretty well. And then we got a hold of Diane Marie. She said she'd come and be in it. And my dad said he'd be in it. I'm just so glad we did all this because my dad died not so long after that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just such a great opportunity, and the people that we got that came together and the passion of it. It was a very low budget film as well, but I'm really proud of it. And people that watch it and that are real Manos fans can see the love that went into this thing. I mean, we worked our asses off. Everybody came here basically to my house. We had people camping in the yard. A friend of mine who owns this old building in the closest town to me called Dallas, Oregon, that town has ghost walks. It's an old town, and she has a restaurant that the upstairs had not ever been done. in like 100 years. The
Mhm.
wallpaper was buckling off the walls. It was creepy and perfect. And she let us use it. This what people contributed and gave us was never could have done it without all of that. So I'm very proud of that project, and so glad that we did it. I mean, we did it.
Talk about writing Manos Returns. Did you have an idea for it in your head, what you wanted to do for it?
Well, not me on my own, but it was Rachel and Tanya and I, the three of us wrote it
Mm-hmm.
and worked out the story. And it's been a few years. I honestly can't remember the details of how this came about. I just know that it was a very collaborative effort. We built the story as we went. We got our basic story figured out and then just started writing it. And it came together so organically, really.
Yep. And then of course you got another let me click on here. Uh Manos the Debbie Chronicles, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's supposed to be a TV series I see on here.
We're
You're working
hoping.
on, huh?
We're hoping. We have filmed the pilot
Mm-hmm.
back in March, I believe. March or April.
Okay.
No, May. It was in May. And down in near Yosemite area, because I'm in Western Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So down Yosemite, California, and Willow Polson and her husband Craig, she came up with the idea quite a while ago. I met her at a convention, and she had tossed this idea out to me, and we just kind of kept in touch. But it came together for her. She decided that it was just going to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
he got me down there, and wow, yeah, we filmed it. I'm looking forward to that. It's in post production now. She's hoping it will be done. She's hoping by October, by Halloween, the end of October. But you know how these things go. There's just
Yeah.
always something else to get in the way. But she's still working hard on it, and I'm hoping before the end of the year, by December. And we're looking for a distributor. We're looking for somebody to pick it up because we really hope to do more episodes. And she's got one or two more written. She's got the basic storyline of where it's going to go anyhow. But
Mm-hmm.
it's basically it's me. It's my character Debbie, who escaped the Valley Lodge some time ago, and now she's been in hiding from the cult most of her life, and now she's battling supernatural evil in the world.
Oh, okay.
So it's a different storyline than Manos Returns, where Manos Returns, I am now in charge of the Valley Lodge. I'm the master, and it's really frustrating because I don't have any use for all these women. They're just annoying, and I'm kind of stuck with them. So I'm not a pleasant person in this at all in Manos Returns. But I get to be more of a heroine type in the Debbie Chronicles.
We should mention some of your other films here. I haven't seen any of these, but I want you to whet my appetite here. We have Beyond the Wall of Fear.
Oh, right. Joe Sherlock, our director of photography in Manos
Mm-hmm.
Returns, he makes a lot of films. He loves making short films. And I don't know if he really, well, he's got a good sense of humor too, but his films are horror and there's a lot of comedy and there's always some breaths, almost always breaths and
Uh-huh.
a lot of blood. Uh, so uh, when he asked me to be in his movies, I said absolutely, but I'm not taking anything off,
Uh-huh.
showing anything. So I don't know if it's in retribution or what, but he kills me like every time. I think I've only been in one of his movies so far where I haven't died. But I've been in like five of his films, and they're a lot of fun. He shows them at conventions, and there's a local pub here. He does a lot of screenings at the pub. So yeah.
Okay, what about Primal Rage?
Oh, I'm proud of that one. That's really cool. It's it's because of Manos how I met this guy. So
Uh-huh.
Jackey is the creator of Primal Rage. It's a Bigfoot film, and
Okay.
I knew his director of photography. He's Jay Lee. He was a friend of mine from a failed Monos project from several years ago. There was
Mm-hmm.
another Monos project that never got finished, and Jay Lee and I became friends from that. Well, now he's doing this Primal Rage film, and because it's a Bigfoot film and I live in Bigfoot country, Jay Lee wanted to see if we had some locations that they could use in this
Mm-hmm.
area. Well, it turned out we do. My yard was one of them. I have a 16-foot hand painted teepee that I inherited from friends, and we set the teepee up in my backyard, and the cast and crew came up here. So in the teepee scene, I'm in it. My ex-husband is the medicine man taking something out of me in a ceremony. My son's the drummer, and then my grandkids, my daughter-in-law, everybody is in the outside scene. So my whole family got to be involved in this one. And
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, he did the costumes for Alien and Alien versus Predator,
Okay.
and he played the part in the costume of the Predator because he's 6'8". I got a picture of he and I look like a little kid next to him.
Mm-hmm.
His armpits way up here. But he's such a great guy, and you'll have to see it. It's a very good film, Primal Rage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you got Things 5. What's
That's another one of Joe Sherlock's movies.
okay.
Channel 99, and I can't remember all the names of them, but yeah, most of them are Joe's. And then what else did I do? Oh, in
Things.
high school, I did I was an extra in one scene of another Bigfoot film,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and no, I'm probably going blank on the name of it in defense or something, but that movie's way worse than Mono's. Way worse.
Well,
Yeah,
you
The
know,
Curse of Bigfoot. That's it. The Curse of Bigfoot.
The Curse of Bigfoot. And you have another one that's listed in post-production, Under Three Moons.
Oh yeah, I don't know if that one's gonna be finished at all. There's a lot of behind the scenes things going on. I I can't tell you how many movies never get finished. I hope it does, but I just have a very small part in
Mm-hmm.
that as well. And that was filmed in Idaho just a couple months ago. So we'll see. Anything can happen.
Well, how have you been dealing with the whole pandemic? You like I'm double vaxxed and everything, but this something I've never seen before. How have you been coping with everything that's been going on?
Well, luckily I live in a pretty remote little town. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like 10 miles out of the nearest other town, and we're at the end of the road in the forest. And it's just 1,000 people. So you pretty much, I mean, you know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't go anywhere for one thing. But I did go to this event over the weekend. It was just one day. Um, and that went pretty well. It wasn't like packed or heavily attended and kept distance and wore masks, unless people were farther away. And right now, Well, I teach painting classes. I've been doing this for about 5 years. Those paint and sip parties at bars, and I've been doing that, but not for the last year. No personal, private, one-on-one parties. So I'm just starting to do parties again, doing one this coming weekend, but I'm also doing recorded version or live. I put a Zoom link up yesterday. This is going to be my first one. So if anybody wants to come and watch, just because I know there's going to be bloopers, I'm hoping no technical problems. I think we got it figured out, the camera and everything. But I'll be teaching my painting party online. I'm also working on opening a patron account so that I can get subscribers. To if you know anything about Patreon, it's for artists and creative people, and people can subscribe, and the subscribers get extra things. And I've got some ideas about that with what I would offer. So I'm working that into it as well. Just figuring things out. I'm a creative person. I got this. I can do this.
Yeah, you are a creative person. Do you have any charities that you're involved in that you want to promote on here?
Oh, let's see. Gosh. Not directly. I mean, I've always been really involved in my community, but
Mm-hmm.
more closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I live in a town of 1,000 people. So to give you a little backstory, is back when I told my son I was in Playboy magazine, before I told him, it's just an article, honey, no pictures. But our whole school district here is 200 kids about. And we've had a graduating class at the high school of 4 kids. Our biggest classes are like 17 or 18 kids. And so I got very involved. I got on the school board when I got here, on the school board for 4 years. But I also opened the Arts Council and wrote grants. And we had some really cool stuff here, some art shows and some different things like that for the kids and for the adults. So yeah, a lot of community stuff. And now just in the last couple months, I got into a new studio space. I got to be part of a new project in town. It's called Falls City. The name of the town is Falls City, and it's Falls City Thrives. And the things that are doing for the kids in the community is really great. They took the old clinic, which is a 100-something-year-old craftsman house. And it's where I used to take my kids to the doctor and nurse practitioner when they were young. And we filmed a scene from Manos Returns in one of the rooms. And then I filled out an application to get one of the rooms for myself, and I got it. I got that room for my art studio. And that's where I'm working. And it has this huge living room that I can use. And so now I'm teaching classes, in-person classes, and I'll be able to film out of there. And my goals are to do community art shows in there and get back involved with the kids in the school. So I guess I'm just more close to home with the things that I get involved in.
What did you think when you saw finally got to see Manos Hands of Faith on Blu-ray?
It was an interesting experience for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so pretty now. You can see all the problems much clearer. An interesting experience. Yeah, I like it. And I really enjoy watching it with an audience.
Yeah. How many times have you seen it with an audience? Because that must be an interesting experience.
Yeah, not too many. I don't know, 3 or 4 maybe. Yeah. But the thing I noticed about Manos is when I first saw that VHS, I watched it and I was happy and I put it away and I just never imagined what it was going to happen after that. And then I see it gets all this and it goes up and I get to do all these things and then it seems to kind of smooth out. And every time it does that, I just go, I'm happy, I'm satisfied. I've been satisfied from the very beginning. So everything that happens is just a joy to me. It's just I'm in it. I would love to attend more events, and I hope that when this pandemic clears and the world opens up again, that I'm invited and I'm able to, because there's so much I would love to be out there doing.
Yeah. Well, promote your webpage on here where people can find you.
Well, right now I have my YouTube, and I'll have to give you the links to these.
Yeah, please.
Um, so my YouTube, and I wrote a book, Growing Up with Manos a Hands of Fate, How I Was
Okay.
a Child Star, the worst movie ever made and lived to tell the story.
Oh, wow.
And this book, I tell you, it's 5 stars on Amazon. So I get great reviews on the worst movie.
Can we get a signed one from you?
Yes, on my Etsy store. I
Eh,
sell them there, and I got 2 more boxes of them, so I got plenty. And just 1 second, sorry.
Okay. Wow, a book.
I just picked these up from the printer too, but this is my version of the Master and Dog.
There you go.
And I sign these and I personalize them if anyone wants. I've got 2 to send out today. One's a birthday present for somebody, but
Okay.
and that's on my Etsy site, my Etsy store, and the robe and some of my artwork. I'm getting ready to post a bunch more of my personal artwork on there.
Now the book, how much is the book?
Well, if you order it from Amazon, I think it's like $15. But if you order it from me signed, it's 30.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know there was a book. How long did it take you to write that?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I was lucky. Bernie Rosenblum, a few people I was able to find and talk to, and my dad had a lot of information. There was a lot of research. So I think maybe overall a year. And
Okay.
because of social media, I met a woman, Laura Mazuka Toops, who lives in Chicago, and she does publishing, not publishing, editing, and she writes her own books. And I found her on Facebook somehow. I can't even say exactly how I found her, but I was working on this book, and she said she wanted to help me. Uh, she did all the editing and a lot of suggestions. I did the writing, but we're listed as partners on this one. And it never would have happened without her.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting how it worked out too, because they were doing a screening of the restoration in Chicago when the book was, we were in the final parts of it. And so I went to Chicago and I stayed like a week at her house, and I got to go to the screening, and she and I finished up the book in person, which was
Hmm.
wonderful. We just like got into it. I'm very proud of this book.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? It was wonderful having you come on today, celebrate the 55th anniversary of Manu's Hands of Faith. Wow, and I'm glad that you got back to me, and
Tell
yeah,
me it took so long. I don't know how I missed your message, but
you
I'm
know
glad.
what? I had a guest on here a few years ago that was so apologetic when he responded to me, because the year before I'd reached out to him for the anniversary of a movie he was in, and he was so apologetic when he responded. And I said, "Look, who cares about the anniversary? Let's do it now." And I still had him on, and had a great interview with the guy. I don't know why Facebook does that, filters messages. If somebody doesn't want to talk to somebody, just don't talk to somebody. But
Right?
because that happens a lot, you know. So I'm really glad that we're able to do this and talk about this film. And yeah, 55 years,
Crazy. Crazy.
a piece of the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah, and on a final note, I just gotta say about the premiere.
Hmm.
It showed once, and I don't know if I said it right, but the theater canceled the rest of the run, so nobody ever got to see it after that. We thought it was gone forever.
And then it
So
resurfaced.
very appreciative to Mystery Science Theater. And I've got to meet all those guys, Frank and Trace, and Joel and Jonah Ray, and I'm friends with Bees McKeever on online, and I just hope to meet some of these other people in person at some point as well, because they're all just such great people.
Well, here's something I find funny. A lot of times films are marketed in a way that really, really pushes them, like the fast food restaurants and whatnot. Because I remember 1998, I believe the highest grossing film, or one of the highest grossing films of the year, was Armageddon.
Oh, mm-hmm.
I hated it. But a film that wasn't heavily advertised and wasn't one of the highest grossing films is probably ranked as one of the most talked about and celebrated films of that year, The Big Lebowski.
Oh yeah, that was a good movie.
Yep.
I don't even remember Armageddon. I'm sure I saw it, but it didn't
Mm-hmm.
stick with me.
You don't need to see it. But
I
the
won't.
Big Lebowski has got a big, massive following now,
Oh
you
yeah.
know? And I remember 1999, all the rage was the Phantom Menace. I mean, I love the Star Wars films from the 70s and 80s, but ones that came after, there was a one or two that I liked recently, like Rogue One and whatnot, and Force Awakens. But Phantom Menace, I didn't care for, and there was it was all the rage, that film. Now most people hate it. But one film that came and went that's now got a cult following is Office Space.
Yes. See, I like those films too. Yeah.
Yep,
The
they're cre-
advertising, you're right. It's the money put into it that gets it out there more, but it's the fans that spread it.
yep. And I find there's a lot of these types of films that they don't hit their mark when they come out, but they find their audience later. And this is why I really get irritated by these people say, "Well, it's the box office that determines." Well, not necessarily. It's longevity that determines, you know? Yep. So here we are, a man whose hands of faith. It might land on all the worst movie lists, but boy, it's a blast to watch it, you know? And yeah,
Well love.
here's the thing. They went out, they made a movie. Same with Tommy Wiseau. He went out and he made a movie. And I'd prefer to watch those over something like Pearl Harbor or Armageddon any day of the week, because those ones are the fun to watch with an audience.
Yeah. Because you can tell when a lot goes into it, even if it's not very well done. You can tell when people are really trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? It was wonderful having you on here today, and I was just going to say one more time, hold your book and your picture up there
Yeah.
for look at that. Yeah,
My dog. Yeah.
Your doggy.
Yeah, in fact,
Wow.
Joel Hodgson wrote the foreword to my book as well.
There you go. Wow. No, it was wonderful having you come on here today. I appreciate it so much. And I was wondering before I let you go, if you'd mind doing a plug for my show.
Sure.
Yeah. Just state your name and you play Debbie in Manos Hand of Faith. And say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Okay.
You got that? Go for it.
This is Jackey Neyman Jones, and I played Debbie in Manos, The Hands of Fate, worst movie ever made, here with Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Thank you so much, Jackey, for coming on here today. And yeah, we'll I hope you get more people buying these robes and whatnot, and yeah, it sounds like a great collector's items,
Oh yeah, and like I said, I make them just the way my mom made the original and the way she taught me to sew. It's yeah, French seams, and if anybody knows what that is.
You ever made one of the robes for somebody and they show up at the cons?
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
That must be interesting.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah.
Now you say you sign them. That I have to question this: when you sign them, does that mean it can't be washed?
Oh no, I do it on a label that's made for clothing and with
Okay.
a Sharpie pen on the inside.
Oh, okay. I never heard of that. Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for coming on here today, celebrating the 55th anniversary of Manos Hands of Faith. Wow. Absolutely. Wow. And yeah, that hopefully we'll get through the whole pandemic and
Oh yeah,
maybe I'll be lucky enough to catch you at one of these conventions.
that would be great. I really hope to get out there and putting it out there. If somebody wants me at a convention, just reach out, invite me.
Well, you know what? I didn't start the conventions till 2017, so I generally do Horrorama in Toronto, and I'm going to do my first Frightmare in the Falls this fall. So I'll see if I can. Have you ever done one here in Canada?
No, but I have friends up in Toronto. I'd love to come up there.
I love
Um,
Toronto.
yeah, I've got friends that I've met, in Seattle. Oh, I'd love to come up there.
I'm in a little spot called New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I'm 4 hours ahead of you. I'm an hour ahead of New York. So
4 hours. Okay.
yeah, yep. So and going to Toronto for that first con was amazing. I got the bug, and
Yeah,
I'm double vaxxed, so I'm. People keep talking about the Delta variant, and I'm kind of like, I can't live in fear all of her life, you know, got double vaxxed. I'm gonna go do this con. I'll
yeah,
bring all my mask and
yeah. Just be safe. Take care of yourself. Be conscious. That's the
hmm
best we can do in life. We can't just shut ourselves away forever. We've got to find a way to get back out there. And
exactly. I
yeah,
mean,
whether
yeah,
that's
I believe we'll beat it. It's just a matter of when.
oh yeah. Hey, this world has gone through things worse than that. Black plague.
hmm Well, I was back in the movie theater in July 2020, so we handled it quite well here. So yeah, hopefully we'll persevere. I don't think it would hurt the master though. I think he would he'd just go into his little sleep quarters with all of his brides.
Yeah, probably.
There you go. Nah, no, no, no problem. Well, thank you so much, Jackey, for coming on here. You have a blessed day. This was an honor and a privilege to have you on here today.
I'm glad we did it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.